Hey there, everyone. I know this live stream is spontaneous, and I haven't mentioned it in any previous videos that I was going to do it. But I decided that it's something that I think I should talk about because I don't think a lot of people think about it. They tend to put it in the back of their minds as something to do later or later on in life. And a lot of times, sadly, it just doesn't happen. And that is a conversation about death. And I know that this isn't really the kind of topic that I talk about on this channel, but as you can clearly see at the top of my channel on the banner, it says cleaning, organization, and life. Well, this is part of that life part. So, I don't think I've ever mentioned it in any of my videos, but I'm an only child. And due to some recent events, as far as other people in my life losing people in their life, it's kind of sparked something in me to try and get my parents to sit down with me to talk about what they want to do as far as their funeral arrangements. Do they even want a funeral? Do they want buried? Do they want cremated? And then things I need to know as far as your bank accounts. How many do you have? Are they all the same bank? Just different things like that. And I've been wanting to have this conversation with my parents for quite a number of years. And because, like I said, of recent events, I brought it up to my mom the other night. She said she was going to talk to my dad. And then we had agreed that we would meet up earlier this morning to sit down and finally talk everything out, which we did. And I feel so much better that we did. So much better. As I said, I'm an only child, and I really wanted to do this because I don't have any brothers or sisters that may have possibly been able to have this type of conversation with my parents if I couldn't. The buck literally stops with me. That's it. I am the only child. So anything that needs to be known, I'm the one that needs to know it. So I went over this morning to my parents' house. I made just a little quick list this morning before I went over of, things I wanted to make sure that I covered, as far as, insurance policies. Who are they through? How much are they for? How do I access them? Any kind of benefits my parents were getting as far as Roth IRA, 401k, Social Security. Did they have any stocks anywhere that I didn't know about? Investments, things like that. And like I said, funeral arrangements. What did they want? What don't they want? We've kind of had that conversation very briefly in the past, like very briefly. So I knew a couple of the details about that, but I didn't know nearly as much as I wanted to that would make me feel comfortable if, God forbid, something happened to them both. I'd be able to go ahead and, either make the arrangements or see that their arrangements for their wishes were taken care of. So I went over there this morning about 11 o'clock. And we had a nice hour and a half conversation. And I left feeling like if, God forbid, my parents happen to both go tomorrow, I feel like I would be very prepared to take care of the things that I would need to take care of. So I found out that, well, I didn't find out, but I confirmed that both my parents want to be cremated. Now, previous to this conversation, my dad had said that he wanted to be buried, and my mom always wanted to be cremated. She's never changed her mind on that. So I knew her stance on that, but kind of surprised me a little bit that my dad changed his to cremated. They do have 2 plots out at a cemetery where my grandparents, my father's parents, are buried. And since they're both going to be cremated or want to be cremated, they don't need them. So my dad said, he pretty much has 2 options. He can either keep them and sign the deed to the plots over to me for me and Tony to have, or if we weren't interested in them, he could sell them. I told my parents, I said, if I had to choose right now, today, if I wanted to be buried or cremated, honestly, I would probably get cremated for the simple fact that I don't have any children. I don't plan on having any children. So I don't have any children that I know would want to come to my grave site and visit me. I'm an only child. So I know I don't have any brothers or sisters that would be coming to my gravesite to want to visit me. Grandparents, of course, obviously would probably be gone. So they wouldn't be coming to visit me. And pretty much all the rest of my family, besides an uncle, live out of state. They're in New York or they're in Florida. And really, once my parents are gone and I'm gone, and more than likely my uncle would probably be gone before me, there would be no reason for any of my family in New York or Florida to come up to Ohio, because there would be no family left here in Ohio. So there's that. And then also, I don't know, I feel like when you're buried in the ground, I feel like, a casket isn't a cheap purchase. Well, a funeral in general is not a cheap purchase, but a casket is definitely not a cheap purchase. Now, I know that varies depending on, how ornate you want it to be, what kind of material you want it to be made out of, things like that. But I feel like if I'm put into a casket and put into the ground, I kind of feel like that's literally taking that money that you spent on the casket, and I might as well just put it in the ground and bury the cash, because I kind of feel like that's what you're doing. I kind of feel like you're literally throwing money away. Not to mention, I know nowadays with technology and advancements, things like that, they can super seal caskets, but still the thought of me, and I know obviously I wouldn't know any better, but the thought of me being underground with insects and worms and things like that, no. And I also felt like if I was cremated, I could have some of my ashes spread on my parents' property, where I spent my entire childhood and teenage years and early 20s, because my parents have lived in the same house since 1982, and I was born in 1984. So it's been my home ever since I've been born. But having some of my ashes spread there, having some of my ashes spread here at me and Tony's house, because we don't ever plan on moving. We plan on living in this house forever. So that's why I think I would pick cremation. As far as Tony, I don't know 100% on what he would want. Now, the reason I'm making this video, and the intent is not to tell you what my wishes are or anything like that, because at the end of the day, my subscribers on my YouTube channel don't need to know that information about me. I mean, it's not going to change their life. It's not something they would need to make decisions on. The reason I really wanted to make this video is because I wanted to make it crystal clear, especially if you are an only child and your parents are still living, or you are a parent that has an only child, or even if you don't, even if you have brothers and sisters and your parents are still alive, or you are a parent and you have multiple children. But more so if you have an only child or you are an only child, you need to have this conversation. Yes, it's not the most pleasant conversation in the world. Nobody wants to talk about dying, unless maybe you're a funeral director, which at one point I did want to be. But it's a conversation that needs to happen, because at the end of the day, when somebody passes away, it's already a horrific event, a stressful event. They don't need piled on top of that trying to make arrangements for your funeral, decide things, hoping that they're doing things in your best interest, or it's something that you would have wanted, and then second guessing themselves or being rushed into decisions for you because they didn't know what you wanted. And then the aftermath after that, finding insurance policies, finding bank accounts, finding potential hidden money in a house that nobody knew about, things like that. And that is why it's important to have these conversations. And it can't be some just like brushed off 5-10 minute conversation. This is what I want, wham bam, thank you ma'am, we're good. It needs to be an in-depth, at least 45 minutes to an hour conversation, because it's important. I mean, at the end of the day, if I did have children, I wouldn't want them to not only have to go through the pain of losing a parent, but then having to try and make my funeral arrangements, try and, go through all my personal paperwork and this and that, whatever. And it's important to know what people's wishes are. For instance, like I said, my mom wants cremated. She also would like some of her ashes. Now, she's mentioned this years ago, that she would like some of her ashes spread on a specific horse ranch in Colorado that she had once gone to. My mom loves horses. And I do plan on doing that for her, because that is something that she wants. Now, today, she stated to me when I had brought that up, oh, no, you don't need to do that, But here's the thing. I know it's something deep down in her heart. It's something she wants. And I'm going to make sure it's done. Also, neither one of my parents, they don't want a showing. Their reasoning simply is they don't want people remembering them laying in a box, which I understand. They want just a bunch of their friends and family to go to a restaurant or something, have kind of like a celebration of life, have a toast to their life, share good memories about them, and remember the good times. Now, I did tell them that me personally, I would probably want to see them before they were cremated, after they passed, simply because, a lot of people need that closure. They need that confirmation that they are actually passed away. Unless you're with the person when they pass, then you kind of know. But, it's your time to say what you want to say, and have that closure. So, my mom kept telling me, oh, no, you don't want to see me just laying there. I don't want you to remember me like that, things like that. Well, here's the thing. Whether I'm with her when she passes, God forbid, or not, I'm going to see her dead anyway. Because if I'm with her when she passes, I'm going to see that. And if she passes and I'm not with her, I'm going to be informed that she passed, and I'm probably more than likely going to have to, go and make sure that it is her at the funeral home or whatever. But anyway, it doesn't bother me. And honestly, she's not going to know any different because she'll be gone. But like I said, this definitely opened my eyes to what exactly my parents have, what their plans are. My parents, neither of them, they don't have a living will. They did today say they were going to make plans to go talk to a lawyer about getting living wills together. If you are unfamiliar with what a living will is, it pretty much says that if you go into cardiac arrest, or you're so far gone as far as pretty much you have no quality of life, that you be taken off life supporting equipment, or you not be resuscitated, things like that. You just want to go. And that needs to be in writing. It needs to be in writing, because if it's not, it's just your word against whatever doctor or physician is looking over their care. And of course, the doctor is going to want to do what they think is best for, your parent. And you want to do what you think is best for them, but at the same time, you also have emotions staked into it as well. So they are going to make an appointment to go get living wills done. Like I said, my dad is going to go ahead and sell the 2 burial plots that him and my mom have, since I'm not going to need them, which is a smart idea. There's no sense in having something that you don't need. I mean, I'm all about purging on this channel. Why not burial plots too? And then there was something else that they were going to do, but I cannot remember what it was. It was something that they didn't have set up, but they were going to go talk to somebody about it. Now, we've lived in our house for close to 2 years. It'll be 2 years on April 8th, which actually is in about 2 weeks, something like that. There is a thing that I can do, and my dad did it for my mom, which is where when you're paying on your house, like if I were to pass away, I can have it set up to where the house is automatically paid off. That way, Tony doesn't have to worry about making a house payment once I'm gone, and he wouldn't have to worry about losing the house. It would be free and clear, paid off, in his name, done deal. My dad did the same thing for my mom. Now, I have not done that yet for Tony. Let me clarify that. We still need to go talk about it. I think it was like an extra $53, $54 a month, which in hindsight, yeah, that's a cheap price to pay for, comfort and, security. But if you don't have the extra money a month, you don't have it. As my mom said, the money tree in the backyard died years ago. But that is something that my dad had set up for my mom, to where if he had passed away before her, while they were still making the house payment, the house would be paid off. Well, thankfully, my parents actually have their house paid off, so they don't need to do that anymore. But that is definitely something also you should possibly look into for your spouse, your partner, your kids, or kid, in my situation, what have you. Now, my dad does plan on putting their house in my name, obviously before they pass away. That way it does not get tied up into probate. And my grandpa, his father, did the same thing, because my dad is also an only child. Now, I don't know if it pertains to selling a house on taxes or whatever, but my dad auctioned off my grandparents' house, his parents' house. And he said that and I don't know, this could be state specific, it could be federal, I don't know. So don't take this as this is for every state. You would want to check with your own state. But when he auctioned off my grandparents' house, he did not need to pay taxes on that. That was free and clear tax money. Same with insurance policies. And again, this probably pertains to, your state, maybe even, well, probably not your insurance company because it's taxes, but probably definitely your state. But my dad said that the life insurance policies are tax-free too. So if you have a life insurance policy of $50,000, you get the $50,000. There is no, well, we're going to take these taxes out from it before you get it. But anyway, I just wanted to get on here and say that this is definitely a conversation that you need to have with your parents, your loved ones, your partner, your spouse, your kids, anybody who is going to ultimately be responsible for your funeral, showing, the care for your home property, personal property, things like that after you pass away. You definitely don't want them to have to scramble around to try and find documentation of things, try and find bank accounts, try and find insurance policies. And you don't want them to have to guess as to what you wanted done as far as funeral arrangements, final resting arrangements, things like that. So, like I said, the conversation I had today with my parents, of course, again, isn't a conversation nobody really wants to have, but it's something that needs done. And I left today feeling really, really good. Like if something were to, God forbid, happen then tomorrow, I would be prepared for it. But with that, I hope you enjoyed this spontaneous live stream. I don't know if I should say enjoyed because it involved the topic of death. But it is definitely something that I think needs to be talked about more, not so much tomorrow's video. All right, have a good night. Bye-bye.